Next up, we're really pleased to be joined by the mayor of this fine city, Tom Bates. He's been mayor of Berkeley for 13 years after spending more than 20 in the state assembly, so he knows a bit about California politics. He's back on his old stomping grounds. He's a Berkeley grad, and he taught here too. The mayor is here to talk about the ways that Berkeley is positioning itself to be a hub for innovation and new technology companies. I am hoping the mayor will walk out, and he is. Hello, Mayor.
Hello.
Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
And Steve, who told me to go very, very shortly, will be back out in just...
No, my mic is gone. Hello, everybody. I wanted to keep you all interested and myself interested. Changing ties. Thank you. Okay. Mayor, how are you today? Thank you so much. So tell us how Berkeley is the coolest mayor or coolest city
in the neighborhood? Yeah. Well,
by the way, we have Lance Noble here on Berkeley's side.
I see
the New
that.
York Times of Berkeley. You're an old friend of mine, so he's going to be listening to every word.
Okay. Well, I mean, first of all, it's an incredible place because of the people who come here and live here and recreate here. I mean, we are, first of all, we have an incredible cultural activities going on in the city. Everything from, we have like 12 theater companies. We have the best food in America is here. I think maybe in the world is here. And it's reasonably priced, too. I did a look, and I think there's like 350 restaurants in Berkeley, and it's my duty as the mayor to sample every one of those.
So tell us, how has data changed that, though? How's technology changed the excellence of your restaurants in this place? I mean, you know, but I mean, in serious form, when one thinks about a modern mayor, and you know, not to put you on the spot,
right.
I sort of have this sense that there have and have not mayors, or do and do not mayors. There are mayors that take data seriously, and mayors that don't.
Right.
I don't know which side of the line you fall on.
I think I'm on the serious side.
Okay. Yeah. So tell us how technology, you know, we're talking a lot about industrial innovation today and the ecosystem, the stakeholders in that process. But I'm interested in how you see how technology and data innovation have changed how you do your job.
Well, first of all, it's absolutely critical that we try to align our city with the opportunity to have that data and have that information available so we can quickly move so that people can, and to be quite honest with you, we're behind the times, but on our next meeting, interestingly on the 23rd, we're actually going to talk about how we can increase the fiber, because in order to be able to have a cool place, you're going to have to move data, big data, quickly to be attractive to people. But I think it goes beyond the digital stuff. It goes to the fact that, you know, we have like 68% of the people who live in Berkeley are graduates who've taken, you know, so they're an educated workforce. And we have things that have started up that are breeding and creating new opportunities in digital opportunities for people. There's, you know, we had like 100 startups when I first came to mayor, like in 2010, when I was in office for a little while. Now, we have over 300. And we have, you know, these really cool places like the Skydeck, which the city helped start to innovate and create. So we're really a place where things start. Berkeley is a place where people, you know, come and they get ideas, come off the campus or off the national laboratories. And you bring
when you think about those spin-offs from Berkeley or partnerships come out, what is the #1 thing you hear from that startup crowd that's trying to innovate that they most want?
Well, first of all, there's obviously various phases of the startup. So what our problem is, frankly, is that we recognize it's not really a problem. It's just the way we are. We start things. We get things going. We're the place where the idea is created and where they fostered. But once it gets to scale, in a place they almost have to leave because there's no opportunities for them to remain in our community. So that's our
because
problem.
Of land. There's
it's
a land
it's an advantage, disadvantage. Some people say, "Oh, ain't it awful? These people are going to, you know, to Oakland, or they're going to Richmond, or they're going down to the Valley or San Francisco."
But isn't it awful?
And I say, no, it's fine.
You're making lemonade out of lemons.
Yeah, exactly. Because the reality is, that's our role. That's what we do. And, you know, we have to just face it. So we're a part of the continuum to make that happen. So we're the place that starts. I ran into a guy the other day on the street who was working at one of our places called WeWork, And he was saying, you know, he's got to move. And I said, well, what's the problem? He said, well, I just have outgrown my space. So I said, great, where are you going? He said, well, maybe to San Francisco. I said, you know, God bless you. Go change the world. But so it's just, you know, we just have to realize that's the evolving nature of things.
You know, when I think about the fact that just a few years ago we didn't have smartphones, we didn't have the kind of data mechanics that are out there now, there just seems to be sweeping change. When you look ahead 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you know, what do you see and what do you think you most have to get? Let me ask you another way. What do you think you can really screw up on? And just be hated by Berkeleyans for, you know, for you know, for 5 or 10 years down the road. What do you think you most have to get right, given
I think
the pace of change?
I think the biggest problem for us is to be able to move data quickly and be able to move on fiber and be able to and make it available at a reasonable cost for people throughout the entire city, not just.
And is that not the case now?
It's not the case now. It's not the case now. We're moving as rapidly as we can to do something about that, but it's not the case now. So it's you know, it's a challenge. So for instance, whenever we do any work whatsoever, like any kind of road work or any kind of, you know, plowing up the streets, we want to put that cable, you know, get that fiber in there so that we can offer it. And that's what I say is one of our major challenges, is to get that available. And I would like it available because what we know is we have a vibrant downtown, and we've got the greatest, you know, supposedly the best public university in the world, and we have this national laboratory, which is just phenomenal. Right. And the combination of the lab and the university, the cross section, the people who work at the, you know, who are professors or who are tenured at the university and are working at the lab. I mean, and all of the exploration that's going on up there, and is really vital that we be able to not only be able to do it, but to be able to spread it to other parts of the city where a lot of people work at home, right? I mean, why do you don't necessarily have to go to the office if you have all the
I totally agree, Margaret.
Right. Yeah. I try not to go, I know.
Yeah. So is it unfair to look at smaller cities? What's the size of Berkeley?
It's like 118.
So you're not really that small. You're fairly you know, a larger, smallish city. Right. But is it unfair to compare you to sometimes sort of the mega cities? I was in Los Angeles recently and interviewed Rick Cole, the deputy mayor. We had another Bold Bets forum at Rand, and the mayor Garcetti was out of town, but he I guess got the mayor's dashboard on his iPhone and could look at what was happening with fire, what was happening with water, what was happening with whatever, and he had a kind of, you know, it's sort of like the Nest, you know, the Nest thermostats, but for everything in the city. I guess he could dial it, and it was a fascinating. Is that the kind of thing that a mayor like you would be interested in, or that you have on your iPhone? You run Berkeley at fingerprint?
No, I don't run it on my iPhone. I don't run Berkeley at all. Berkeley runs me. But no, you know, seriously, I just want to go to the first point. Is that when I first got in office in 2002, I started thinking, look, we're a region. We're not just a city. When you leave Berkeley and you go to Oakland, you can't tell the difference between, you know, I mean, it's just across the street. The same people, people work in it. So I've been really active throughout my entire career in trying to connect up the East Bay as a region. We did it for crime. We do it for Green Corridor. You know, we do it for art. We do it. So I'm open and trying to make sure that we expand ourselves to thinking beyond just Berkeley, because Berkeley is a wonderful place, but it's you know,
it's connected.
It's just nested in this great region. And so I'm actually a very strong regionalist. I serve on all these regional bodies, the MTC, the Air District, BCDC, you know, the Joint Policy Committee that studies it. So I'm really, really interested.
Are there any cities in the rim of the Bay that are dumb cities that aren't keeping up with you?
Albany, no, no, no. I don't know the answer to that.
Let me open up for
I'm sorry about Albany.
How many people here live in Berkeley? Live in the city limits? So we've got. Wow, you could make a dent here in the next election. And let me ask any one of the Berkeley residents if you have a comment or question you want to share. Don't be shy. It's too small a room to be shy. In the blue, right there.
When are we going to get that fiber? Oh, sorry. Oh, Pete Lyden. I'm with Reinventors Network.
Yeah,
Actually,
Pete is great.
My company is in San Francisco, unfortunately, but I do live in Berkeley.
Okay.
And love the fiber idea. And is there really, looking ahead, is there what is the plan for actually bringing that to the curb of actually people's homes? Because I think that's a phenomenal idea.
Well, we're on it as much as we possibly can. Obviously, we have fiber that goes on the BART system, goes all the way, and then we also have fiber that runs along the railroad tracks to the west of Berkeley. Mm-hmm. So we're now trying to look at what the city can do. Anytime we let a contract, what we can do to make sure that fiber goes into that contract. So anytime we tear up the streets, we want that fiber in there. And we've just actually reports coming to the city council on the 23rd, which aggressively pushes us forward as much as we possibly can to get fiber. The problem, of course, is is being able to get it in the ground. And it's, so anytime we do something, it's to our advantage to go ahead and put it in. So we're requiring anytime any of the utilities or anybody does any kind of work in Berkeley, we want the fiber in there. But primarily the trunk lines, coming off of where BART is, so that means the downtown is pretty conveniently located to get fiber, and as well as the city itself. And then, it does go down University for a little ways, but we need to be on the ball because this is a major issue. I meet with a group of entrepreneurs who meet and talk, and this was like the #1 issue for them. We're saying we got to figure out how to move big data because there's all this research going on here and all these people who are working with big data.
Are you really dependent on providers?
Excuse me?
Are you dependent on providers? I don't know if they call them cable providers or others in this realm, because we had, again, down at this other Smart Cities Forum that we did, Rusty Bailey of Riverside, who talked about the fact that he thought that the market wasn't delivering what they needed, and so the city has become essentially provider of the cable and the fiber optic and all of, I may be getting the terms wrong here, but they entered as a principal to do what Pete was just talking about. Is that something you'd consider? I would, because but I think we'd like to have the providers, do it. But if that's not the option, I think we need to, the long term, like 5 years from now, we should have everybody who lives in Berkeley Hills, everybody who lives in the flats, should have an opportunity to get that the fastest possible fiber, so they can move information as quickly as possible. With Berkeley here, you see Berkeley here, is it easier?
Or
harder?
Harder.
Is this a castle that has big moats around it, or is it something that works with the community? I mean, what kind of complaints do you have with the university?
Let me show you the list. Here's the list. No, we actually have, it goes ebbs and flows. We do great around issues with the university, around technology. We joined together to form the SkyDeck, which was amazing, to get this to happen. It was city and the university and the national labs come together to put this together. No, we work really well, and the chancellor, we get along great with the chancellor and the staff. When we get in problems with the university is over land use issues, because when they acquire property, they can do that, and then it comes off of our property tax rolls, and we don't get any benefit, except, if they build a building and people work there, there's a spin-off. And so but on balance, it's just land use primarily. But other than that, we get along great.
Other question or comment? Yes, right up here in front. Do you have a microphone? Ashley has a mic here for you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Tell us
My
who you
name's
are, Edie?
Yes, I'm Edie
Nice to meet
Lopez.
you.
I have a software company, and I'm interested if you have a regional policy group within Berkeley, Albany, Oakland, and the East Bay area for business incentives.
Well, we have, the only thing that comes close to that is we have where we started was a green corridor, and this includes cities in Alameda County, so it's Albany, Berkeley, goes all the way to San Leandro, Hayward. So we meet occasionally, but it's primarily, the focus has been primarily on trying to green, but there's nothing per se that you say. The only thing that comes close to that is this group that comes together, excuse me, which consists of people who are members of the MTC and the ABAG and the Air District, as well as BCDC. They would come together and as a group, and they meet and they talk. The two issues they're concerned about is climate change and economic development. So that's the closest we come. And we've commissioned various studies that have been done, And in order for this region to stay strong, we absolutely have to have, affordable housing for people. We also have to have the educational drive must continue, because this whole future is really dependent upon us, having the highest possible opportunity for people to learn and innovate and create. And so those issues are discussed on a regional level.
I saw another question over here. Yes, go ahead.
And Steve, I actually have a question from Twitter from one of our guests
hi, Twitter people.
that's watching online for the mayor. How has the city gone about building online portals for city services? How do you recruit tech talent and fund development?
Okay, good question. Well, we're actually, have been innovating in that way. We have an open source, so people have been assisting us in trying to figure out what we can put online, but we do have a number of things that people can get. You can apply for a zoning. You can get your zoning permit, you can get your birth certificate, you can get potholes and other problems can get reported online. You can pay parking tickets, you can pay other services that we provide for people online. And we're trying to do as much as we can to actually open that up to even more services and more opportunities for people. So the open source, we're pretty excited about that. We're hoping we're going to get more, more ideas and more ways of making the city more available to people and be able to communicate with people better than we currently have.
How many employees do you have in the city?
We have about 1,600.
And how many would you say of that by percentage are digitally savvy?
Well, I would say out of the 1,600, 1,300 would have iPhones,
But I mean, digitally savvy in the sense, because in talking to other sort of mega mayor types, Mike Bloomberg or Rahm Emanuel or Eric Garcetti, so LA, Chicago, and New York, and I would call those three essentially data mayor types. Okay. They said one of the biggest problem they had when they brought the methodology and whatnot is actually you have an infrastructure of people who've long served the city who just don't come out of the same culture. They may be, have been groomed and taught how to do with their jobs 20, 30 years ago. And so to some degree there's a displacement factor. So do you find that in Berkeley? Are you hiring people that come in with a flexibility and nimbleness in how to create those data points, data on-roads?
I would say, yeah, definitely. But you see, some jobs like public works and things like that are, but I would say that most jobs now people are definitely thinking about how you could hire that kind of workforce, because that's the kind of workforce we're going to need in the future. So yeah, we're lucky. We have a lot of good employees, and and we have a lot of really creative people in work for our city. So we're trying to move. But I would say our biggest problems right now is that maybe it's a fault of my own, but we never really focused as much as digital as we probably should have as early on. I've been the mayor for 13 years, and I've been elected for public office, believe it or not, for 37 years when I was a county supervisor and state legislator. And this, I'm not coming late to this, but I think I should have emphasized it more, because I feel like we've got to do some catch-up here.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Mayor Tom Bates of
Thank
Berkeley,
you.
thank you so much for spending time with us. Really appreciate it. Thank you.